guys, it's Mahogany from Next Level Canine Coaching. Hi! I wanted to jump on and answer a question that's coming up a lot lately. It's about starting a dog walking business. And I think, there's a lot of popularity now around walking dogs. The tech dog companies, I think some of you guys have heard me use that term before. Those are the dog related companies that were started basically by the tech industry. So Rover, Wag, those kinds of companies. And so a lot of people are looking at this going, there's high demand. I love dogs. I like being outdoors. Maybe this is something I can do. So I want to address this question because it's a really good one. And there are some things that I want people to start thinking about that they might not be from the outset. So I want to kind of help maybe direct you guys to the right resources, or make sure that you don't get into something that you kind of discover down the line that you really don't want to be involved in. So I'm going to do this, answer this question over the course of a few videos. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you see the subsequent videos, and also, put your questions that come up, put them into the comments box so that I know what questions to address in subsequent videos. All right, so there's 3 things that I want you guys to think about. And these things are based on my experience having run a dog walking company, but also because I have conversations with so many trainers, so many dog walkers, so many pet sitters, and I see them oftentimes when they're at burnout. And seeing people at burnout allows me to learn a lot about the things that pop up later in someone's career that they were not expecting at the beginning, and the things that start to kind of eat away at them. It also gives me a really interesting view on the industry and the common trends and how that starts to affect people's health and their lives and all the aspects of their business. So that's why I kind of want you guys to think about these 3 things. If you get to the end of this video and you still feel like you want to start a dog walking business, then I think you should probably go for it. If you think that you can handle some of the things that pop up as major challenges for people. So I'll just jump right into them. So the first is, are you interested in dog behavior? Anytime we start to interact with a dog, we start to impact their behavior in some way, shape, or form. We can improve it or we can make it worse. And when you are the primary caretaker, even temporarily, so, even if the dog is not yours, during that period of time while you're taking care of the dog, you are their primary caretaker. And if we are in that position, we are responsible for some aspect of their behavior. So most behaviors in dogs are created by patterns, habits, small incidences. Sometimes dogs can be impacted by one major event, but a lot of times behaviors are created based on little things that are happening, right? So a dog, for example, that is walked every day with a bunch of tension on the leash could start to develop some reactivity. That's just one example, and there are so many others like that. The flip happens as well, right? So a dog that's rewarded, very consistently for offering a particular behavior, like an automatic sit whenever you stop walking. You teach them that, you reinforce it, and then it sort of can be, that can become a behavior that they do very regularly without having to be prompted. And for some dogs, like, that stuff just starts to become rewarding in and of itself. So we impact the behaviors of the dogs that we take care of. And I think that anybody that works with dogs really should have an interest in dog behavior. We're dealing with living beings here. And we know that even our subtle movements, the subtle things that we don't even realize that we're doing can affect a dog, and how they what their view is of us and their interactions with us. It can really impact them. So these are the kinds of things that it's important for people who work with dogs to realize. And my hope is that everybody that works with dogs wants to improve their craft. When I worked as a paramedic and even in corporate management, the idea of improving your craft and going to continuing education, it was a requirement. But also, we could see very clearly how important it was to do that. And I think that a lot of people who work with dogs start to get a little bit stagnant. They stop learning from other people. A year or 2 years into working with dogs, they start feeling like they've arrived. It's really, really odd and also really dangerous, because we're dealing with living beings and because we're learning more. Now there's a ton of money going into researching dogs. We're learning more about their behavior. We're learning more about how they view the world. And if we're not on the, sort of on the cutting edge of that, and if we're not staying really in tune with everything that we're learning about dogs and what works and what doesn't, we're going to do the dogs a disservice, and we're going to do ourselves a disservice as well. So it's really, really important, I think, to have an interest in dog behavior and to also want to improve your craft. I would not encourage anyone to be in the position of, being a primary or secondary caretaker of any living being if you're not interested in improving your craft. So those are my thoughts on that. The next thing is, I forgot. Okay. The next thing is, are you ready to do the more challenging tasks around taking care of dogs? So taking care of dogs that are not yours is a whole different ball game than taking care of your friends' dogs even, and of course, taking care of your dogs. So everybody has a different set of rules and guidelines for their dogs, and everybody has a different tolerance level, especially for nuisance behaviors. So some people don't mind their dog being aroused all the time, jumping on people, bursting out of doors, just sniffing everything on a walk and actually barely allowing them to actually walk, pulling on the leash. And some people don't like it, but because they don't know how to train their dogs, they just become permissive. So you have to start to think about, which of those things you are ready and willing and able to handle for people, because there are going to be some nuisance behaviors in almost every dog that you work with. Even very well trained dogs, they might have something that kind of triggers you or rubs you a little bit the wrong way. And for some people, it's not a big deal when you're dealing with one dog. But once you have a company and you start dealing with that stuff with 10 dogs, 20 dogs, 50 dogs, 75 dogs. My dog walking company, when I left, had upwards of 75 dogs as clients. Actually, that's 75 clients, and some of them with multiple dogs in the same household. So that can start to wear on you significantly over time, and you have to decide if those are things that you're going to either be willing to tolerate, or you are going to develop your craft and have the, and build yourself the opportunity to train, to work with the owners and work on training so that you can at least get all the dogs to a manageable place. There's also other stuff like picking up lots and lots and lots of dog shit. There is so much to pick up, especially if you're thinking about doing group walks. You've got to be really on top of that stuff. And anytime that we're taking dogs out in public, to public places, out and around in city neighborhoods, we really become responsible for their behavior out in society and out in the world. And those behaviors can vary really significantly. Some of them are nuisance behaviors, some of them are outright dangerous. And so you have to decide if you want to deal with those things. Because sometimes you're going to see, as a dog walker, behaviors pop up with you that the owners don't see, or that the owners sort of overlook or ignore, or again, they just become permissive about them. And those are things you have to decide if you want to deal with. Also, if you're going to be driving dogs around, then start thinking about the maintenance of your vehicle. And, I've talked to so many people, and I've had people that have told me that they were really into it, but their cars got destroyed just by carrying dogs around. Some people totally loved the first few years of working with dogs. And then, all those behaviors that the dogs were presenting started to wear on them, and they just couldn't do it anymore. And they didn't really have an interest in behavior or training and improving their craft. So they just got burnt out, and then they were like, I've got to get out of this. So think about that stuff. One is, do you want to handle and deal with all of those nuisance behaviors, potentially dangerous behaviors, while you sort of think about, okay, am I going to be in this for the long haul and be able to, work at improving my craft and stuff like that. So keep those things in mind. The third thing is, do you like dealing with people? A lot of people that I talk to, so many, they tell me how much they love dogs and how little they like people. And for some reason, it's kind of become a popular thing to start a business working with dogs and to kind of develop this attitude of like, if I just work with dogs, I don't have to deal with people. And so maybe compared to a service, another kind of service job, you might be dealing with fewer people. I don't know. But you have to deal with a lot of people if you have a business. The human beings are the stakeholders. The dogs enjoy the walks. They enjoy the company. They enjoy, all of the motivation and reward stuff that we do with them. They might learn a lot, but they're not the ones paying us, and they are not the stakeholders. It is the humans that need the service because they're busy or because they have physical limitations. They're not able to get their dogs out very regularly. And so you've got to be ready to, provide the right kind of service and communication that they need. And you're going to be dealing with some people that are difficult. Some people are high maintenance. Some of the dogs are high maintenance. So that's something that you should consider. If you don't really want to deal with people, I totally don't recommend running a business, especially not a service business where we're dealing with living beings. I'm not saying you can't run, some other business, but business involves marketing, which is, how we interact with people, how we get their attention. You've got to find some kind of joy in doing that. Otherwise, it'll just drive you mad. And you've got to do sales, right? So you're not going to have a process where you don't have to interact with the people whose dogs you walk. Like, your business will just go into the gutter if you're not willing to deal with them. If you don't want to have to answer their questions or, send them updates, maybe photos or videos or whatever you decide to do, or deal with payment. Right? Sometimes you have to kind of chase people down a little bit until you get your payment process right. So those are things that you're gonna encounter. And if none of that stuff it might not sound appealing anyway, but if it's not something that you think you can deal with, then consider whether you want to run a business or not. If you don't know about these things, or you're just kind of interested in investigating and seeing if it's for you, hook up with a dog walking company. Almost every dog walking company is hiring. There are so many dog walking companies that are looking for good people. And of course, they don't want people that are, coming in and out and that are not dedicated. But they will take someone on and maybe offer you to do a few, kind of test walks and see if it's something that you're interested in. That's definitely what I did when I had my dog walking company. Anytime I was hiring or someone expressed interest, I would have them go on a few walks and just kind of help make sure, that this is something that you want to do. And it was a great thing to do because I had people that did 2, 3, 4 walks, and then they decided, you know what, this is not for me. And I really appreciated that from people, the honesty, because then it meant that neither of us had to spend time training and and doing things that were that really, you know, weren't in that person's interest. So you know, those are things to kind of keep in mind. Again, these are the things that pop up very regularly, and they start to, you know, lead people into burnout and into changes of careers. So just give that stuff some thought. Like I said earlier on in this video, if after hearing all of that, you're still interested, you're like, I can totally deal with people, I enjoy dealing with people, I'm up for the challenge, I really want to understand behavior, I don't mind picking up, you know, the poop of many, many dogs, then definitely check out the subsequent videos where I will get into some of the actual steps of starting your business. So thanks for tuning in. Put your questions in the comments box, please, so I can make sure to get around to them in the next videos. And I really appreciate you all for checking in. I will talk to you soon. Bye.